All right, so we're getting back into our UGC and loyalty section. Stackla, the world's most smartest visual content engine. It's helping people like modern marketers discover, manage, and display the best earned and owned content across all of their marketing touch points. So from ads and emails to websites and to commerce, with this AI-powered user-generated content platform and of course the asset manager, Stackla sits at the core of the marketing stack. So it's enabling brands to build this rich library of visual content by actively discovering, recommending, and rights managing content from across the social web to fuel personalized content experiences at scale. I would now like to please introduce Edward Sinclair, the head of sales APAC at Stackla Visual UGC by Nosto. Instead of wasting time and money trying to keep their digital content fresh, savvy e-commerce marketers, they're fueling all of their marketing activities with authentic and trusted UGC. It constantly performs, it does well across digital channels, and Edward's actually going to showcase how UGC can help e-commerce brands to better connect with their audiences. Please join me in welcoming Edward Sinclair from Stackla Visual UGC by Nosto.
Great. Thank you so much, Raven. And thank you everyone for tuning into this session. We're going to go into a journey of user-generated content in the next 15 minutes. I'm going to explain why user-generated content and why is it relevant to you, how to get the value out of it, and how we can leverage it for your e-com stores and your marketing as well. My name's Edward Sinclair. As Raven just said, I lead our sales team for APAC based here in Sydney. I've been working with hundreds of brands all around the world to leverage user-generated content and really see value with these type of assets as well. But first, just a little bit of background. I actually work for the business Nosto. Nosto, if you're not familiar with already, is an e-com personalization platform. Our mission is to make every touch point relevant to your shoppers when they come visit any of your, whether it's on your e-com store, via your email or your ads or wherever it may be. What we do is we will learn firstly about all your shoppers, where they came from, what they're interested in, what category, what products they're adding to their baskets, what products they're buying and what they're not buying. And then we'll use all that data to then tailor a personalized e-com experience for those individuals, whether that's recommendations, customized content on site. We can even organize the order of all your products on site so that it's relevant to those individuals. We can, of course, measure the performance of that personalization and optimize it as we go. All with the aim of increasing order sizes and improving conversions as well as delivering, a personalized, relevant experience to the users. As you can see, we work with thousands of retail brands around the world to do this, and we're really proud of our partnerships with the leading e-commerce platforms that are out there today. In 2021, Nosto acquired Stackla. Stackla is a user-generated content platform, and we're currently integrating this tech into the Nosto suite, all with the aim of making personalized shopping experiences more authentic for retailers. So really, we want to show people using your products in real time when they're browsing your stores and show all of that in action, all with the aim of improving authenticity online. So let's start with why user-generated content. As we know, more and more shoppers are spending more of their time and making more of their purchases via e-com stores, which is absolutely fantastic for all of us on this call today. This is great news, but it also presents a few challenges. Firstly, they lack, the authenticity, which I talked about. People no longer can go see what a product looks like, touch it, try it on, see if it fits, take some photos of all different angles. So they really want to see what it looks like and what it looks like in the wild. So consumers are spending a lot of their time. They'll leave your site, they'll go onto Instagram, and they'll have a look at some other channels to find out exactly what the product looks like in action. So what we really want to do is kind of bring that product, all authentic content to them whilst they're browsing, so that we can, improve the time to make a purchase. Now, nearly every marketer I've spoken to in the last 5 years has said they need more content as well. The content monster is demanding more assets as there's more channels to produce assets for on a daily basis. As you introduce personalization, that content need scales up and up and up. There simply isn't enough marketers in the world to create enough content for all these different channels. Creating all these assets is a big challenge as well. It's expensive, it's time consuming, all the effort to put a photo shoot together to get a few images that you quickly use can be a real nightmare for a lot of marketers that are out there. So brands are spending more and more creating content, but it's also being seen less, unfortunately. I certainly know when I'm scrolling Instagram and I'm looking at weddings, babies, photos of parties and that sort of thing, and I see a branded image pop up, something that looks very choreographed, I'm more than likely just to skip over it. Whereas if it looks natural, authentic, it looks like it belongs in my feed, I'm probably more likely to click on that type of content. So what I thought we'd do is kick off with a case study with Lush Cosmetics here, who we've been working with for the last 4 or 5 years. They've done a fantastic job of leveraging UGC at scale, using this type of content on nearly every single one of their product pages that they've got on site. And you imagine it's Lush, they've got a very high number of product pages. They're using UGC now to power their social feeds around the world. They're no longer having to produce as many assets themselves. And they've also introduced kind of social commerce on site so people can make a purchase when they're looking at all this content. They're also using these assets in their emails and in their ads as well. So it's been a really good news story for Lush. When they came to Stackla, they were facing a few challenges. The content they were producing themselves perhaps wasn't getting the return they were hoping for. It wasn't converting, and it wasn't getting the engagement from the audience. They were finding it really hard to keep up and produce enough assets and deliver for all these different channels they had. And every year they're having increasingly tighter and tighter budgets to create content. So they needed a solution and they turned to UGC. So now they're pretty much, as I said, powering all of their social feeds around the world with UGC. We allow them to source content from pretty much every social network and get the rights to that content. And they're using that content across their entire website and making all that content shoppable as well. So for them, it's been a fantastic result. As I said, all content being used on their social feeds is now powered by Stackla. They're seeing some a lot higher engagement numbers, people clicking on that content, and increased traffic to their site from these types of assets as well. So thinking about UGC, our top line goals are help brands find more content that we'd expect to perform better. We'd like to introduce methods to help them save time. So perhaps automating the tagging of that content to match your products, automate the rights management process as well, and automate the publishing so we can get content on site and into your emails really easily. And then hopefully we can, our goal is obviously to save, to lower costs so they don't have to produce as many assets themselves, don't spend so much, asking agencies, etc., to create their content for them. So the Stackla platform itself is really simple. We allow brands to discover all the content that's out there, curate it, get the rights to it, and then publish this content across all your channels, as well as we have a great analytics suite as well, so we can track which assets are performing best. I thought what we'd do is just dive through these assets and the journey. So from a discovery point of view, we've got partnerships with pretty much every social network that's out there. I imagine it looks a little bit small on your screens there, but it's the big hitters: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, of course, TikTok, etc. If there's content out there, we can pretty much help you find it. We also have our own direct uploader forms. So perhaps you have an audience that isn't as comfortable sharing content on social, but they'd love to get involved. We can ask their audience to upload content directly to your website. We can also use that to capture some names and emails and that sort of thing. If your team's used to scrolling Instagram already and they're on TikTok, we also have a Chrome extension. So if you see a nice image or video that you like, just click the Chrome extension. We'll add it into the platform right away. We can ask for the rights to that content right there and then as well. And then on the bottom left here, really interestingly, we have a part of the tool called our Organic Influencers tool. This allows you to build a community of content creators, get them connected to you and your brand, and then you can put briefs out there to this audience. So those audience members that love your brand, they want to get involved and they want to share some content, let's use them. Let's ask them to create some assets for you and get them to upload them directly as well. So if there's content out there, we can pretty much find it. Now, if we just capture an image straight from Instagram, it's actually not that helpful for you as a retailer or marketer. What we try to do is add a whole bunch of other smarts to this imagery. So firstly, we'll integrate your product feed into Stackla, and we'll try and match every image automatically to one of your products. And we'll do that by if someone's mentioned the product in the post. We'll also scan every image with visual recognition to know what's in it. In this example, it's very simply a mask or a woman, but we apply thousands of these concepts to each image, which makes it really easy to find an image in the future. You could say, show me someone with a dog and their sunglasses on at the beach or something like that. We'll find that imagery really quickly. We also apply sentiment, location, language, etc., where we can as well. So what you're going to end up with is a really nice organized library of assets. We can tag those assets by how you exactly need them. It could be by category, by product, or by any other way that you want it done. Our goal is to help you find this imagery as quickly as possible. From the curation dashboard, you can also ask for the rights to this content. Now, on the left here, you can see we've got a methods rights via response. It's really simple. It gets about a 75% return rate in people actually responding to these messages. Quite simply, we send out a message from the tool to say, hey, we love this image or video. Do you mind if we use it? The users can reply with a hashtag of your choice. In this example, hashtag YesLush. And then when they do, what we'll do is we're going to download that image and we're going to store it in our asset manager, which we'll get to in a second. On the right, we've got a slightly more robust method. Perhaps you want to get hold of the original file from that user, the high-res copy, because you want to put it as a header image on your website or something like that. We can send them a link to a form. They can fill out some data, and then we can capture that information from the users. We can push that info straight through to your CRM as well. So if you want to add it to your database, that's no problem at all. Great. So any images we get the rights to, they are all stored within a central asset manager within the platform. They essentially become your brand's images to use. You can use them in your ads, power your Instagram feed, wherever you choose to use them. You've got permissions, and we've got the log of them giving permissions as well. Or if you have your own central database of imagery or asset manager, we can push that content through to where it needs to go as well. Okay, so the fun bit. What do we do with all this content that we've got and we've rights managed and got the rights to use? The big use case is websites. Now with Stackla, a typical use case is brands will put a widget on a product page or a category page, their homepage perhaps. There's no limit to the number of widgets that you can build and create. And as you saw from that Lush example, they've got a different feed of content for pretty much every product they own. Really simple to do. All our widgets are fully customizable, so they can be made on brand. And you could, as you saw, we've got this e-commerce element as well, so you can make a purchase directly through looking at the imagery, push consumers to take the next step. The same content can be used in apps. That's no problem at all. We work with Gap, and they do the same, UGC within their app. Same within email. Perhaps you want to send specific content to different segments of audiences. We can put the UGC directly in there. You can moderate that content and it all updates automatically as you go. So keeping those emails looking nice and fresh. Lush here, as we see, are using this content to fuel their social channels. They're no longer having to produce all these assets themselves. So it's a great way for them to focus on what they really want to be doing whilst getting some great results through social. And then we have other brands that will use this content in out of home in their digital billboards. Perhaps it's in their paid social ads. Perhaps they're just running a blog or something like that. wherever you need content, we can help get those assets wherever they need to go. Okay, so some top line summary here. We always say curate, don't create. Use your audience. They're producing great assets. They want to be involved. So let's get their story mixed in with yours and increase the authenticity of your pages. Shorten the path to purchase. So let's put this content across all your different pages on site and in your emails. Let's get people looking at this content on your territory rather than then having to bounce off and go off to Instagram and do their own research elsewhere. Add the call to action. So let's increase conversions. Let's add those call to actions to make a purchase, add to cart directly through. Once they're looking at UGC, it's a great way to get people to take the next step once they're already engaged. And then what we love is when brands leverage this content across their entire, all of their touch points. So web, email, ads, you name it. It's a great way to add that authentic layer of content to your own messaging as well. Fab. Well, that's it from me, guys. We'd love to have a chat. We'll be in the booth for the rest of today. Otherwise, do reach out to us directly.
Amazing. Shall we jump to a few questions? I've got one just sitting here. How does Stackla measure or compare to a tool like 460?
Good question, Raven. Thank you. So Stackla, everything that we've done and built in the tool is all about scalability and using UGC at scale. So like that Lush example, they've got content across each of their product pages with individual call to actions. 460 is fantastic if you want to use the tool for just a simple feed on your website. Perhaps it's just your own content with a few call to actions. But if you really want to start leveraging UGC across at a much greater scale, you're going to need a tool that's going to firstly automate all the tagging of the content, perhaps make recommendations over which bits of content that you want to use, and then have the ability to create an unlimited number of feeds of assets across your entire e-com store.
Awesome. Got one last question here. How do you measure the return on UGC?
Good. Good question, and one I get asked a lot. So a lot of marketers that I work with will think about the return on investment in two ways. Firstly, it's from a content production point of view. The questions they'll ask is, if can I produce less assets than myself if I'm using UGC? So therefore, they're spending less money creating all that content. So it's from a content production point of view. Do they have more assets to hand than they used to have before? Or it's a content performance point of view. So is UGC performing better than my assets that I was using before? Am I getting more engagement with this content on social? Are people making a purchase because they've had a look at this type of UGC? All of which we can track within Stackla in the analytics section.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Edward Sinclair from Stackla, Visual UGC by Nosto. Really appreciate your time today. So thank you so much, Edward.
Fab. Thanks so much, Raven. Thanks, guys, for listening. See you.